Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is week number 2 of my world building vlog that I've taken upon myself to go ahead and challenge myself with. And to start off with, I wanted to go into some of the influences that I'm going to be taking inspiration from. So obviously, Dungeons and Dragons is going to be where I'm going to be pulling a lot of my fantasy tropes, as well as some just unique ideas that I have floating around in my mind. I also am going to be taking some inspiration from Starfinder, a great sci-fi role-playing game that's pretty much like Pathfinder but in space. And last but not least, at least in terms of humanity and where we're going in space, the Expanse series. If you haven't read this book or any of the books in this series, it's definitely worth a read-through, or even just watching the Amazon show. It's actually really good. And so when I start getting into things about like how humans adapt into space, I'm actually going to be pulling some ideas from the Expanse series. And so this video is actually going to be on the different races that I have in mind, just kind of a brief overview of some of the things I'm going to start thinking about over the next coming week. And so, by the way, if you're into world building or anything in general related to tabletop RPG, you probably want to get yourself a journal, because let's be honest, I'm going to be forgetting a lot of stuff unless I write it down. And in fact, a lot of my pre-rough drafts are going to be stored in this journal. I'll just have a lot of things that ideas that pop into my head. I'll just go ahead and write them in my journal. And when I'm ready to actually flesh them out, I'm going to go ahead and post them in my world Anvil, which I'll post when I actually create it, because I actually haven't gotten to that step in the process just quite yet. So in terms of the future fantasy universe that I'm building, I've kind of taken a look around to see how many races I want to start off with. Like if I'm building a core rulebook or some sort of a core system, I'm going to need at least a few races or species to kind of play around with. And so I've narrowed it down to about 9 different ones. So obviously we're going to have humans. I mean, you can't really have a sci-fi game without humans. Actually, you can. You would just be all aliens. But I digress. This is future fantasy, so humans do have a buy-in in this universe. And then we're obviously going to have some elves, which are going to be part of the fantasy side, but we're going to upgrade them to be a little bit more futuristic. We'll also have dwarves and gnomes, and I've been thinking really hard about how dwarves are going to be part of this universe as builders and stuff like that. And then you're going to have gnomes who are kind of like tinkerers. So, yeah. Androids are going to be another race, and it's going to be a little bit restricted in a little bit of a way, at least for the beginning. So, the way that I have it planned out right now, this is going to be the early future. So about 2250 AD to about 2500 possibly. So if you're thinking about in Mass Effect terms, it's quite early, where humanity has just now gotten themselves into the council of the other alien races. And so it's a big step forward, but it's the first step. So we're kind of thinking of along those grounds. I'm not going to delve deep into like the far future just quite yet. So in addition to androids, I'm also going to have a lizard-type race, and originally I was going to call it the Vesk, and then I actually started looking through Starfinder, and then I realized that's the name of their lizard race as well. Oops. So, all the names are works in progress, by the way. So, then we're going to have the cat people, or the tabaxi in Dungeons and Dragons terms. You gotta have a cat person. I mean, come on. If you're going to have lizard people, you got to at least have a cat person. And speaking of cat people and lizard people, if you're going to have those two things, you got to have insect people as well. So we're also going to have some sort of an insectoid type race. I've been thinking about how I was going to incorporate orcs and that whole society and goblins. So if we're thinking about like Warhammer 40K type game, orcs are definitely in line with goblins and that whole side. And so I thought it would be really interesting to have orcs be, you know, those space pirates. Kind of like how goblins are in Starfinder as well. So I think it would be really interesting to have that trope in this game as well. So we're going to do something with the orcs and goblins. I might rename it and combine them and just kind of make some subspecies off of each other. But I'll be thinking about that a little bit later. And then the last race that I have in mind, one that actually originally came with this whole inception of this concept, was some type of an undead race or a vampire race. And Starfinder actually does this with one of their factions. Not quite a playable race, at least not that I can remember. But I think it would be really cool to have like an undead race or people that were brought back to life. And that they have kind of made this whole society for themselves on this dead planet, basically. So I haven't quite decided if it's going to be vampires or if it's going to be just straight up undead, like revivified type people. And this would be a conglomeration of all the different races so far. So like humans and gnomes, dwarves, elves, probably not androids. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really see how they fit into this whole undead type deal. But those are the 9 different races, and I thought 9 would be a pretty good start. I think 9 is the number of races that are also in the player's handbook for 5th edition. So there's obviously a lot more room to expand this out. But I want to stick with these 9 first and get those fleshed out before I start adding some more, because really the sky's the limit here, and I don't want to be waiting here all day while these thoughts come into my mind. So next week I'm actually going to be fleshing out humans a lot more, and I've already got some ideas here, but I'm going to be fleshing them out a little bit more over the coming week. But humans will definitely be in the next video, and how they've kind of expanded out into space and all of that. So feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support this series, and subscribe if you would like to see more. I will see you guys in the next video.